HursleyFM. Oh yeah, HursleyFM. Oh yes, my friend, I'm here today to talk about HursleyFM, a podcast hosted by Johnny Mac, Mr. Jezelenko, and Dr. Adrian Warman. How cool is that? And if you wonder what the topics be, they talk to world experts.
Ladies and gentlemen, no, we've only got one listener, haven't we?
We have.
Lady and or gentlemen, welcome to the HursleyFM podcast.
Lady gentlemen.
Lantleman, welcome. Yes, my name's Jez Kelway, and I am honoured, in fact, to welcome you to the HursleyFM podcast number two. Joining us today are Dr. Adrian Warman.
Hi everybody, how are you doing?
And it's John, isn't it?
Today it is John.
Today it's John McNamara. Which medication are you on today?
I'm on the purple and red.
So it's Johnny Mac then in that case today.
Hello everyone.
So by way of introduction, firstly thank you for listening, thank you for downloading. We've got some quite exciting stuff today. We're going to do a little bit of news, and then we're going to do a little bit about tech tidbits. And we might talk a little bit, maybe a bit of consumer advice today, which could be a first, which is great. And then we're going to have an interview with something to do with dolly mixture or something. I don't know. John's going to talk about it a bit later. Without any further ado, let's go for some news. Who wants to go first? Adrian, you got anything to talk about news today?
Well, I suppose the thing that is particularly interesting in the world of tech news is the announcement recently that eBay has been hacked. Yes, apparently. There's all sorts of
Was it you?
No, it wasn't me.
Okay.
No, in this particular situation, it wasn't me. No, there's not a lot of information out there at the moment, but it sounds as if they had a bit of trouble sometime between February and March, something like that, and hackers got access to their database. Now, it's not the first time that something like this has affected a big organisation. And really, us as little people, all we can do is just do the sensible thing, which is to change your password.
Yeah, in all seriousness, there is something for us to do, isn't there? Let's change the password bit.
Do we know what's been hacked? Is it like Sony when they had their passwords and usually it's hacked?
Well, it's still very early days in terms of the information that they've released, but it sounds like it is things like your name, your telephone number, your email. Apparently the database might have contained passwords, but they would have been encrypted.
Okay.
So hopefully hackers wouldn't be able to decrypt those passwords.
Right.
But it's standard advice: change your passwords as quickly as possible.
At least we're encrypted. That's at least with that. Fair play.
Yeah, so as hacks go, it's not the bomber, but it's quite unsettling, isn't it?
It's very unsettling, yes. And as I said, it's not the first time there's been a big organisational hack over the last few months, and it seems strange that with all of the publicity and awareness about the importance of cyber security within businesses and for individuals, privacy, all of that sort of thing, it does seem surprising that this thing has happened again. My fear is it will happen yet again.
It's one of those things, isn't it? You put up a challenge, somebody will crack it. I think that's half of it, isn't it?
It might keep Caroline off eBay for a while, though. You never know.
Good luck with that.
Couple of
John.
minutes.
Good luck.
Having on eBay.
Good luck
That'd be
with
quite
that.
nice.
your side project for business, selling stuff, knitting needles and things.
All my belongings.
Yes, all your graphic novels.
Yes.
So thank you, Agent. That was poignant, interesting, and useful, which is
absolutely.
very unusual. It's not our usual content, so thank you for
that.
Yeah, John, what have you got for news today?
Logging onto eBay right
Logging
now.
onto eBay right now. All right, so I was looking through a number of websites, and I've got a favourite of mine. It's a great podcast called Mysterious Universe. And I was looking at their website, and they put up a story entitled "Who's Afraid of the Zombie Apocalypse?" Now, the interesting thing is they make reference to a US strategic command called Counter Zombie Dominance Conplan 8888-11, which is an actual planning guide for the US military to avert a zombie apocalypse. How awesome is that?
I can neither confirm nor deny that, John.
But the nice thing is, we'll put this in the notes as well and link to the actual plan. The first sentence is, this plan is not actually designed as a joke, and it's really involved. I'm just glad someone's taking this threat seriously.
It's about time,
finally.
man.
Yes.
Finally.
It's about time, because I don't know about you, it keeps me awake at night.
Exactly.
It does.
I've been to Hull. I know the dangers.
You do, yeah. Well, I've been to Hull as well, and you're correct to be worried about those dangers.
Absolutely right.
The good thing, though, about that is that the zombies in Hull do wear very, very shiny shell suits, so you can see them coming even at night.
Yes, absolutely right.
Lots of reflective material.
Apparently, this military plan does include several different types of zombies.
Ooh.
So you've got space zombies, you've got magic zombies.
Have you got a magic
Zombies.
Oh,
Magic
Is that in the
zombies.
sort of maybe the voodoo sense, the sort of Baron Samedi stuff? You know,
One would like to
raising
think
the
so.
dead. That's supernatural.
Yes, absolutely.
I wonder if magic encapsulates it because they're my favourite type because they're the scariest.
Yes.
The reanimation.
Yeah.
I'd love to live in a world with that.
Yes.
Would you?
With the concept of magic zombies.
You might already
I might
live in that world. You just can't see it.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, if you want to build your own defence against zombie apocalypse, we'll put a link to in the notes to our zombie apocalypse hackathon that we had back in February.
Oh yeah, excellent.
Build your own.
Build your own. Yeah,
Build
build
your
your own technology to save you from the zombie apocalypse. Brilliant.
We're not just pretty faces, or even.
What? I don't think we're that.
You can even get an app for your phone. I think it's Run Zombies Run. It's one of these running apps. Instead of listening to music as you're running,
You get chased.
you get chased. So at periodic intervals, you can hear the zombies coming
Oh god,
after you.
that would keep me going.
Absolutely.
There is an app that does
Yes.
that. There's one out there.
Yes.
You can
Right.
get. It's like you can go, oh, there they are coming to get me, or I'll just better get my skates on
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
Like,
It's
well,
intended
that-
just to escalate the speed from mere jog to
Terrified,
So
panic run.
that is motivation indeed.
It is.
You are quite right. Space zombies, designated SZs, and weaponized zombies. Oh, my word. So, weaponized zombies are zombie life forms deliberately created by biomechanical engineering for the purpose of being employed as weapons. Zombie weaponization programs and supporting infrastructure are included in COAs to deal with these threats. Wow.
Talking of bioengineering, I was very sad to see that very recently H.R. Geiger passed away.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah,
Oh.
that is a shame.
Designer of the Alien.
Yeah,
The original.
My word.
The original Alien. Yeah. Good. Some of his work is pretty impressive.
Scary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that too.
Yeah. Yeah, if you didn't know who he was and you wandered into his house and saw his artwork, you might be inclined
You
to
might be
leave.
You might be slightly concerned,
Yes. Yeah.
especially if you've got your zombie app running at the same time.
Absolutely
Yes.
right.
Not ideal, is it?
Yes.
So I've bit of news for me. It's not, and I'll be quick. I'm quite excited about a few things coming up on the silver screen, and
Oh, fella.
and more excited about TV series. Now, I'm a big fan of a massive story arc. I like a big, long story arc. You know, I loved Babylon 5, and I'll get a lot of abuse for that. But massive story arc,
It's
like
okay,
5
I'm not friends
seasons,
now,
just
it's all
brilliant.
right.
It's right. It's my confession group. There is the potential for one of my favourite graphic novel comic incarnations to reach TV screen this year, Constantine.
Oh.
John Constantine, originally introduced in Swamp Thing as a sort of magician, sorcerer, warlock, occult type character who defends the earth against the forces of hell. But he's a Cockney Londoner who chain smokes and is a bit of a blackguard, and he likes a few drinks.
Is this separate from the film Constantine? that
So
came
there
out?
was a film, which in fairness
Keanu
was
Reeves.
okay.
Right.
Yeah.
The film in and of itself was okay, I thought. But it wasn't Constantine. Constantine is a blonde-haired Cockney geezer in a trench coat. Not, like a
So
surfer
inspired
from
by
Hawaii.
rather than...
Precisely. But the TV series focuses on him more as he appears in the graphic novels. So I'm tentatively... The trailer's quite good. I'm tentatively excited about
Yeah.
it.
Do you think it might be a bit Sarah Chronicles, that sort of thing, in relation to the Terminator movies?
Do you know what? I don't know, and I'm very careful about reading up too much about things.
Yeah.
I've watched the trailer, and it's definitely got the right feel, and they've definitely cast it reasonably well. Because I always think, being 6 foot blonde and a bit of a blackguard, I'd actually make a really good Constantine. However, in this case, they've actually cast it pretty well.
Wow.
I think so. Could be good.
So I love villains. Is there, if there's a big story arc, is there a major villain of the piece?
I fully expect there to be, but that's why we're going to have to watch it, because I don't know. I haven't read into it too much.
That sounds really good.
It does sound exciting, doesn't it?
It does sound nice.
So that'd be good thing. And there's a load of films coming out, but I'll talk about those at a different time, I think. So tech tidbits. So what's been going on this week then, Adrian? Oh, I'll tell you what we could talk about here. My phone's up for contract renewal.
And mine.
Is yours out, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I've got absolutely, it's been brilliant. Samsung Galaxy S3. It's been fantastic. Coming up in July, I thought maybe I'd start my research now.
Yeah.
Got a sort of month's grace. And knowing you as I do, Adrian, I was wondering if you maybe had some advice over which directions I could go in.
I think you're making a decision at a very interesting time.
Yeah.
What we're likely to see in the next couple of months are potentially some very interesting announcements. Now, all of this is complete speculation. However, the rumours are that Apple will be producing a new iPhone. So we're likely to see that sooner.
Is that an iPhone 6?
The iPhone 6,
Yeah.
yes. The other thing that is interesting is Google have their I/O conference coming up in the next few weeks. And traditionally, they've often announced new devices. What will be interesting is to see what they're going to do in terms of their hardware lineup for the Nexus range, because comparatively recently there was the Google Nexus 5, which is a very nice 5-inch smartphone. But just above that, they've got the very well established and very well respected Google Nexus 7 tablet. So that suggests that they could go for a Nexus 6 somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Is that sort of Galaxy Note type size?
Well, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
Who knows? It's more interesting to realise that they could well announce something, or perhaps they wouldn't even do any hardware, but they might be announcing the next version of Android, the actual operating system.
Yeah, that
itself.
seems likely, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I've got a Nexus 7 and they are phenomenal tablets.
Very, very powerful.
Brilliant things.
Yes.
Really, really good.
Yes. So my instinct would be, and unfortunately it's not terribly helpful as a comment, but it's a very straightforward piece of advice. It makes sense to think about the sort of thing that you're using your phone for most of the time now.
Yeah, exactly,
Most people don't actually use phones for phoning.
No.
They're
Not
personal
often.
digital assistants.
And if I do, I use an earphone, an earpiece.
Exactly. So with that in mind, perhaps start doing almost like a survey of how you're actually using your time on the phone at the moment, and use that to produce a wish list, so that when these devices are hopefully announced over the next few weeks or few months, you'll be able to spot what's going to be a closer match for you.
Interesting. Well, that is a useful bit of consumer advice. Thank you. I'm going to start my research. I'm going to start monitoring my own habits. John, I suggest you have someone monitor yours for you.
Yes.
Oh, they already are. That clip on your ankle.
I just can't leave this room. Well, Kaz has got a Fabulous, which is really good.
Yes.
It's really good, and I tend to use her Note more than my own phone. Yes, really useful. And of course, the kids as well, they want to see like videos, occasionally having the phone, put the video on, and they're more than happy with that.
Yeah.
So I might be tempted to go down that route.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant. So, in the interest of time, thank you, Adrian. That was genuinely useful, which is always a surprise. We mentioned a bit of dolly mixture earlier in the show. So I'm interested. I've been hearing stuff. Perhaps, John, you might want to expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's been an awful lot of excitement in the actually in IBM in general about something called BlueMix.
Blue what?
BlueMix.
Say again, over.
I'll do it. Blue for blue.
Blue, yeah.
And then mix
For Mix-a-Lot.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. And so what we thought we'd get is we'd get an expert, although I don't see how really they can improve on the quality of our information on BlueMix.
Well, quite. Yes.
Yes.
For the deeper technical details that we haven't provided there.
Exactly.
How about Guy Barden?
He is, that man is a legend, isn't he?
He's just like all of us.
He's
just like all of us. He's actually he's a very amusing chap. He runs his own fantasy football league, which I'm very lucky to be a part of. He was writing web interface as well before they became commonplace. And he is a proper technologist and a proper engineer.
Talking about.
He does, and I think he's currently deployed in the BlueMix team, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He is in messaging enablement in the cloud.
Right, that's it. Well, let's get him in then.
Yeah.
Please welcome to the show, Guy Barden.
We are fortunate and honoured to have managed to capture Guy Barden, who works in the messaging cloud enablement.
Captured him.
Captured
with
him.
a snare.
We did. And chloroform.
And chloroform. The usual way then.
The only way, as far as I'm concerned.
wonder what that straight jacket was for.
Yeah. It's not for me.
Huh?
Yeah.
Well, it's a Friday. You've got me to the end of the week.
Wonderful, buddy. So, Guy, if you can you tell us who you are and what you do at IBM?
Yeah, I like to self-style myself as the overlord of messaging as service cloud test.
Like it.
Overlord is a good term.
That is sweet.
We appreciate that.
And I run a team that looks to break MQ in the cloud in as many ways as possible so that we can make it as robust and user-friendly as possible.
Cool.
Awesome. So, quick question then. Can you tell us what is the cloud exactly?
Yeah, so in the dark days when I joined IBM and we had products in their infancy, you used to want to send messages from, say, Webster Application Server, and you had a product called Embedded MQ, and it was literally dark incantations over a cauldron to get this to work.
I love those products. That was the heady days when I was involved in that kind of thing.
Were you involved in that?
I might have had a hand in that. Particularly the dark incantations, that was it.
So over the years we've evolved to get progressively easier with tight integration between products such as Webster Application Server and MQ, with the evolution of Java standards such as the JCA connector architecture. And then now we're moving to this sort of, rather than something sitting on a computer or server in an office, moving to this world of on-premise and off-premise residing in the cloud. And MQ has an on-premise suite, which is where you run your own cloud in your own infrastructure or intranet, and it allows you to build repeatable patterns that you can deploy many times and administer and configure easily. And now, with the advent of BlueMix and this off-premise world, it's the whole focus is you design your applications to use messaging, but you don't care about the messaging. It's just there and it just works. You don't administer it. You don't install it. You don't apply maintenance to it. All you care about are your resources to be used as resources.
That's phenomenal. So it's BlueMix then? Is BlueMix an off-premise cloud? Is that what we're saying here?
Yeah. So last year IBM bought a company called SoftLayer to get into the cloud space. And within sort of the SoftLayer cloud space, which allows you to go in and stand up virtual machines to do with what you want. And again, that's just like saying I want to run a desktop machine, but I don't want desktop, so I just run a bit of computing space somewhere. I don't care where it is. I don't want to maintain it. SoftLayer will do that for me.
Right.
Within SoftLayer now, you've got a sort of this BlueMix enclave, which is, dare I say, a cloud within a cloud.
Oh, I love this.
Oh.
At any point do we get to sort of fog or any other kind of precipitation, or is it all just clouds?
That is
Mist.
cloud with a hint of mist.
Okay, brilliant. That's imagery I can work with.
So the BlueMix is this cloud within a cloud. So it's a space of pre-configured virtual machine resource, and rather than being VM centric, where you stand up your VMs, you get a network connection into it, you load whatever software on, build whatever you want to do as you would do with a desktop. It's you write your applications, and the big thing here is you write your applications wherever you want. You develop them on your laptop, you could develop them on your iPad, whatever, it doesn't matter. You then just push the application into BlueMix, and it wraps everything that you need to run it around it. So
Wow.
That is cool.
So in the old days, if I wanted to have a computer to perform a particular task, let's say a really nice game machine or something like that, then I would have assembled a motherboard, the chassis to store the bits and pieces in, nice fast hard drives, super fast graphics card, sort of thing.
Yeah.
What we're talking about here with BlueMix is a cloud equivalent to being able to assemble the components to let me do a particular task.
Yes, you essentially get a bare frame and you push your application into it, and then you get a GUI interface that allows you to, through the use of things like sliders and dials and bells and whistles, to tune up or tune down the amount of resource you want to use. So if you've got something that's very CPU intensive, what you can say is, I don't want my application to run on one instance, I want it to run on 100 instances, and you still get the same single interface to that, and it just offloads the work across 100 instances seamlessly. And if you're not that busy, you can scale it back down to 10 instances.
So you pay for what you use.
So you do pay for what you use, and there is a billing structure in place which is usage based. For MQ, it's going to be data based. So the amount of data you push through, the more data, the more we'll bill you for. But if you don't use it, you just sit it there running in the background. If you've not got a lot of usage or things, we're not going to bill you for it.
So this is the sort of thing that would be really good for an awful lot of, let's say, retail businesses. I mean, they traditionally have a problem of, during most of the year, they're going to need a certain server capacity for their online customers. But as they approach a holiday season where they might expect a sudden big ramp up in requirement, they don't have to do anything extra. The cloud environment, the BlueMix environment, would basically just automatically scale for them.
At the moment, you would have to say, I envisage a busy period, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to increase the number of instances I require. We're not quite at the point where it's self-determinating its load requirements.
That makes sense. So, just out of interest, so you mentioned that you work in the MQ department, right? I've heard of one of my favourite product names, which is Elastic MQ. Right? Can you tell us anything about that? Is that kind of stuff that you're getting involved in?
Yeah, I mean that's my raison d'etre, as Del Boy would say.
International now.
Translator. Yeah, he's got international. That's for our international listeners.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean we're specialising, or our team is developing what's known as a BlueMix service, and the whole BlueMix idea is that you have this catalogue of services available to you, and you push your application up, and if you wanted to use a messaging service, you'd bind Elastic MQ to your application. There's a very snappy CLI to do this with. It's just a couple of commands. It's very easy, and what that will do is it goes away, and the Elastic MQ service will then create a queue manager under the covers for you, and it will interpret the messaging requirements of your application and build them on that queue manager. So if your application says, I want to subscribe from a topic, Elastic MQ will automatically create that topic for you.
Wow.
If it says, I want to push to a queue, if the queue's there already, i.e. it's not the first time it's pushed a message to the queue, then it'll just go ahead and push it. But if it's the first time, it's going to create a queue for you.
That's awesome, because I know when I've been playing with MQ on the box, physical box, you create a queue manager, and then you think about what application you're going to use it, and then define all your queues and your channels, that kind of stuff. That's
all done for you. If it doesn't exist and it needs it, it creates it for you.
That's awesome. That's really that is really cool, because that is a huge amount of admin to do in order to support your applications running an MQ. That's phenomenal.
Absolutely. We're looking at offering two protocols for these services: the bog standard JMS, which has been around for years, and this new and funky AMQP. Don't ask me what the AMQ or P stand for. I don't know.
Is it advanced messaging? It's got to be Q.
Advanced message queue protocol.
If I was a betting man, I'd put the P was protocol.
Yeah.
We might have gone, and if it's not named that, it should be.
It should be. We'll do it now. We decide that's what
we say. That's a new standard.
And that's where this MQ Lite comes in, and where we tie in with the new MQ Lite developer product that's coming out.
So what's the relation between MQ Lite and Elastic MQ? What is MQ Lite?
MQ Lite's a new lightweight queue manager that offers this AMQP protocol as opposed to the more heavyweight native MQ. Can I use the word FAP?
You can.
Yeah.
If you can explain what it means, yeah.
I have no.
I'm a great one for throwing acronyms out into the air, but don't ask me what they stand for.
Fair enough. So MQ Lite, right?
So it's what we're offering for our developer experience.
Right.
So you want something that's lightweight, single processed. You can install either onto a cloud VM or your desktop, and you can develop your applications. And it's the AMQP stuff is really aimed at JavaScript and the new Node.js.
Oh,
container
Node.js.
stuff.
Nice.
See, I throw in buzzwords.
Oh,
No, that's
yeah.
fine. No,
Yeah.
buzzword bingo.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because last podcast we talked to Josh Carr about developer outreach.
Yeah.
So this is something that developers could have a play around with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the idea is that if you want sort of a lightweight development experience on your laptop,
Yeah.
wherever you can go with that through MQ Lite. You can write your Node programs, and then once you've got them all working with your live experience, if you want to productionise them, you could just fire them up into BlueMix.
Ah, sweet.
So really, a lot of the traditional skills that a web developer would have had in thinking about things from the client side, they can now apply those same skills, JavaScript, Node.js, JavaScript, or web interfaces, all on the desktop to actually build some serious server-side cloud-based applications.
Absolutely.
Right.
And again, it's the same sort of thing. You write your JavaScript to create and use queues. You've got set up listeners and things, and you just push a Node application up. You don't even need to tell it it's a Node application. BlueMix automatically detects its Node and will stand it up in a Node container.
That's nice.
And it's the same with JMS. You want to write an MDB, you push up a Liberty server package, it's going to automatically build into a Liberty container. With our service, you don't even need to package the MQ libraries anymore. They will be automatically downloaded and linked in.
Wow.
Now, you said at the beginning in your introduction to yourself that one of the things that you do is to test configurations to the limit. How do you go about testing something that is, I don't know, potentially abstract when it's in the cloud?
That's a good question. I think that you have to be naturally talented. You can't see it, but these fingers break every time they touch. It's just something inbuilt. What we tend to do is we look at it rather than saying, well, we're going to specifically target this element of this module, and is it working or is it not? What we tend to do now is we say we're more interested in the user scenarios.
Nice.
Yeah. So what we want to say is, can we stand up a large messaging environment?
Yeah.
And run it for a week.
Yeah.
So we look more at open-ended testing where there's no specific right or wrong. It's, will my application work?
Yes.
And if it doesn't work, why won't it work? Is it a limitation or is it a defect?
Right.
I'm having an unfamiliar feeling.
Steady fella.
It's that coffee.
No, I've had an idea.
Get your hand off.
I've had an idea.
Stand back.
Touching me. No, I've had an idea. I think we could maybe invite Mr. Barden back on at some point to talk in a bit more detail about testing.
Oh,
At some point, because you've strayed beautifully into that kind of territory, and I think that is some interesting stuff.
It is.
This office is fit up central.
It is, yes.
Oh, yeah.
You've noticed that. But we don't supply you with your own beverages.
No. You'll give a chair.
That is true.
We forced Guy to make his own cup of tea whilst we sat round and watched like gentrified legends just drank our coffee without offering him any.
In fact, that looks very much like a cauldron that your coffee
It
came
is.
from.
It in Bi-Bar Memphis from.
Take me back 15 years. Well, we used to work in the JTC together, didn't we?
We did.
Well, that was about 15 years
It
ago.
was about 15 years ago.
Oh,
It
those
was-
were the days.
So a quick recap then. You've got MQ Lite, which developers can download, play around with, develop applications on, and then once they're happy with it, they can simply use a BlueMix on-cloud infrastructure to deploy it and run it seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. And the great thing is that you don't. The MQ Lite aspects are there in BlueMix already. You just bind as a service, and there's no other work to be done.
So I was going to ask you about that. So the continuity between MQ Lite and BlueMix. I'm hoping that what's not going to happen is you've got a GUI in MQ Lite and you're in a BlueMix and it's completely different. It's completely a different experience altogether.
No, the GUI, if you wanted to monitor or look at metrics, look at how the system's running, what's there, the MQ Lite GUI will be available in BlueMix.
Sweet.
So when you bind your service, you'll get your service endpoints, and there'll be a GUI endpoint, so it'll all be the same web-based driven.
That's
That's cool.
GUI.
So no, that sounds brilliant. Sorry, did I cut you off there? I didn't
No, not for the first time.
Sorry.
he's
I'm
used to
joking.
it. That's fine.
No, well, I'm just thinking in the interest of time.
Yeah.
Do you have? You mentioned MQ Lite and developers and so. And are there any sort of communities or forums that people could get involved in,
Where would people go to for more information?
or to feedback?
Everything's driven off the main BlueMix page. So you register through the BlueMix GUI,
Yep.
ace.bluemix.ng.net. At the moment, it's still in beta, so it's all free. You create an ID, you log in. There's links to documentation and communities from there. There's forums where people are very helpful. If you've got a problem, just post a message, and that's off Developer Works.
Yeah.
And
Dive in.
anything, dive in. And if anybody, if you're struggling with anything, the forums are very responsive. If you've got any ideas for improvements, we are still in beta, and we're happy to take on board any ideas.
So I'll put the links in the notes. But also, if you do just even a search on MQ Lite on Google, boom, you get the Developer Works community as the first port of call.
Sweet.
You can use that, download the goodies, and then BlueMix will put that in there as well. And then you can just click to register for the beta and have a play. Simple as that.
It is that simple. And I mean, off the documentation pages in BlueMix, we've got some good samples which you can download and run. It's very simple.
Which sample do you like most of all? What's your favourite?
It'll be the one that I wrote.
Fair enough, yeah.
We love you, Guy. So, Guy, thank you so very much.
It's been a pleasure, chaps.
Thank you for turning up and allowing us to capture you, drag you in, and probe you.
Much always with the innuendos. We're trying to move away from it, but John keeps pulling us back in.
It feels like an alien abduction.
So one last question from me. How do you think City are going to get on next season?
It's promotion,
Promotion, definitely. So Guy supports Bristol City. I'm from Bristol, so we're just for reference. How did City do this year?
Mid-table obscurity.
Mid-table, which was better
Better
halfway
than,
through the season.
Better than the bottom that we started at, yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, man. Really good to
Thank
see
you,
you.
buddy.
Cheers, guys.
Speak to you soon. Ta-da. Fantastic. I feel enlightened.
Do you know what?
Karmically.
That Guy Barden is just such a legend, isn't he?
Yeah, he really knows his stuff.
He does.
He does, yeah. It was superb. So I think there's potential to get a guy back in and talk about testing, as we talked about.
I
But,
think so.
Also, some of his sort of external pursuits could be interesting. He's a true techie, isn't he? So
Oh, those pursuits.
yeah, honestly, leave it at the door. Such smut. So I think that kind of wraps it up.
I think
doesn't it?
so, yeah.
So we've had some good consumer advice. We've had
Yeah.
very interesting insight into testing and BlueMix and Elastic
Yeah.
MQ and all these things. I'll quickly mention the community. So for a couple of reasons. One, firstly, we really would love to have feedback on particularly who you would like us to grab hold of, chloroform, tie up, and then interview when they come round. And any questions that you would specifically like us to ask.
Yeah.
We are literally mercenaries for hire. We will go and find your information for you. So let us know on the Developer Works community.
That's right. Yes, if you are listening to this on iTunes and you want to get hold of the DevOps community, go to Google, do a search on HursleyFM, all one word, and it will appear magically.
That's as if by magic.
As if by
Unlike
magic.
zombies. Well, we don't know. There
We
might
can
be a
give it a go.
subculture. We
I
don't
think they probably do appear.
I suspect.
Stop scaring me. Stop it. Brilliant. So I think that wraps it up, doesn't it?
Sweet.
So brilliant. We look forward to the next time.
Yeah.
And we'll have a surprise for you next time.
Ooh.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Johnny Mac, Mr. Jezelenko, and Dr. Adrian Warman. Best writing technology, like a colossus. It's HursleyFM.